Hi, everyone. It's Lisa with Isaiah 61 Ministries. I'm going to answer a question tonight that I was asked a few days ago with someone who really didn't want the answer that I had, just really wanted to argue about religion. And I was asked why I couldn't broaden my mind and broaden my understanding and my knowledge about other religions. And I'm not going to read any scriptures tonight. I'm just going to answer from my own personal um, thoughts, my own personal experience with the Lord. At 11 years old, when my mom and dad started going back to church because my dad was an alcoholic and he was unfaithful to my mother. And so the third time they were married, I was around 11, 10, around 10 years old, and my dad found the Lord. And he found this love for Jesus that delivered him from the alcoholism and began to change my father. And so we started going to church at a non-denominational church locally here. And when we started going to church, it was the first time that I had encountered and felt the presence of God in that church. And it was in 1981, I was 11 years old, that I was saved and baptized. And it was around that time in this area that 90 people in 90 days, I believe, were saved. And there was a lot of talk about what God was doing. The churches were getting filled up because the Holy Spirit was moving in our area. And so the church that I went to, the Holy Spirit was there. The presence of the Lord was there. He was moving in the church. He was moving in people. And so for me, through the brokenness I had experienced with my family, the insecurity, and all the emotions that go with the marriage and divorce, the alcoholism, and all of the fighting and things that I had witnessed as a little girl, and other things I had experienced as a child. Um, for me to go to church and to feel that security and that love, that peace that I felt, I knew that it was more than just a building. I knew that God was in that place. And so to me, I'd gone to vacation Bible schools in different churches, and I'd gone to church with my aunt and probably to some other churches. And that feeling, that presence was not there. So when I felt that presence of the Lord and I knew that God was in that place, there was nothing else that I needed. I didn't need to go to another church. I didn't need to go to um, some other denomination or uh, another religion, because what I had was in the is a relationship that I began to begin to grow in and develop at 11 years old. From 11 to 15, I grew in that relationship with Jesus. But I did not know back then how to carry the presence of the Lord and how to enter into the presence of the Lord. That was not taught to me as a child. So at 15 years old, when I met my husband, who was my high school sweetheart all through high school, I put aside my relationship with God and developed this relationship with my husband. And then everything everything that I did was apart from God. Even though I would still pray sometimes I would get out my Bible, I'd read it, because I knew that feeling, I never forgot what that felt like. And but I got so into the world and so caught up in everything out there. And then when more brokenness came and more pain came, more grief, and all of the things that happen in the world, and I tried everything that was in the world, and nothing helped me. And so when I started looking for churches, I was around 40, and I went to a handful of churches around the area looking for that feeling, that presence that I felt when I was a child. And I went to some churches, and they were nice people, nice pastors, nice teaching, nice sermons, but I didn't feel anything. And I wasn't doing anything different in my life except for going to church. Nothing had changed on the inside. So when I got to the church that I'm in now, it was immediately when I walked in, I knew that God was there. I felt what I felt when I was 11 years old, which was what I had been looking for. And it's like when you meet someone and you know that that's the person you're going to marry. There's something inside of you that knows, and you can't take that away from someone. So when I got to that church with my dad, I knew that God was there, and that presence was so strong, and God began to minister to me in all of my brokenness, in all of my grief, and I began to learn and develop this relationship with him as an adult. I was taught how to how to grow in my knowledge of God, how to walk out this life now. I was taught the things that I needed when I was 11 years old, and I know it would have been a little bit differently taught when I was younger, but so I knew that I could carry his presence with me wherever I go, that I could sit here before I got on this video for an hour. I prayed and worshiped the Lord and entered into the presence of the Lord right in the recliner behind this where I'm recording. And I cried in the presence of God just a little while ago. There's nothing like being with him, and nothing, no one can explain or describe in words what God's love feels like. It's something you have to experience for yourself. Once you experience it, nothing else can take that place. Nothing else can compare to that feeling of God's love and his presence when he comes and begins to spend time with you, and you just sometimes just feel him. It's just sometimes he's overwhelming. And you also enter into the sufferings with Christ when we intercede for other people. When we intercede and we feel the heart of God for those who are lost, those who are addicted, those who are broken. You feel that pain that God experiences because he never intended anyone to be separated from him, but he's given us a free will to choose. And I had made a choice at 15 to walk away. Not fully, but I did enough that I did not follow him for 25 years, and I made a mess of my life. So when I came back to him, he was waiting, and he wasn't condemning me, he wasn't belittling me, he wasn't what's the word? Not confronting, accusing. He wasn't accusing me. There was nothing like that. I experienced God's unconditional love, and the first time I did, it was I cannot explain it. I've never felt it to that degree. I don't believe since then. I've probably felt it in different ways, but that in that moment, because of what I was going through from the loss of my mother, it was it was just this wave of love that just completely enveloped me, and I felt the love of God, and it just no one can tell me that I didn't experience it, and no one can take that away, and there's nothing that can compare to that feeling. And so if you've met your spouse, and even before you got to know them, and you knew in your heart that that was the person you were going to marry, that something inside of you just knew, and no matter who argued with you or who told you that no, that can't be possible, but you knew it, and it happened. It's just like that with God. When you feel it, you know it. And no one can argue it away, no one can talk it out of you. And when you meet the love of your life, and you find that person and you want to marry them, uh, you don't later on decide, well, maybe I need to try some other people. Maybe there's somebody out there better, or maybe there's somebody out there that might fit my life better, or whatever. No, you stay with that person that you love. You honor that person that you love. You respect that person that you love. And so when I came back to the Lord at 43 years old, I love him. And I don't need to go find someone else because I honor my relationship with him. I respect my relationship with him. And I don't need another little g God. I don't need religion. I don't need a denomination. I have a relationship with the God who loves me, and I love him. So there's no need for me to go out and try to figure out these other religions and um, but I do have an obligation to tell people about Jesus. And definitely I want to tell people about the love of God that I've encountered, what it's done in my life, how it's changed me, and in the hopes that other people will want to know this love that he has for me, because he has it for everyone, but we have a choice to make. So today, that's my answer. I don't need anything else. I found what I was looking for, and I know that I'm loved. I looked for love in so many different places in the world, and I couldn't find it. And I found it, and it's changed me. It's made me complete. It's made me whole. I have peace. I have healing in my emotions, healing in my heart, and there's nothing else in this world that can do what God's love has done for me. So I don't need anything else. And for those of you who are still looking, I hope that you find the love of God. I hope that you encounter God's love today, and that your search, once you found it, your spirit and your soul know that this is what inside you have longed for all of your life. There's a part in us that only God can feel, and there's a part in us that was made just for him, and we are incomplete without him. And we can try all those other religions and whatever else that the world has to offer, but there's nothing that can fill that void in our hearts but him. And when you find it, you know it, and you don't need anything else. So God bless you, and I'll talk to you all soon.